Well, hello. Pardon me. That's me again. Today is October 24, 2023. It is Tuesday. And let's not procrastinate and let's put on some incredible news, which, of course, there are basically psychiatric word known as German media, and especially their tabloids. Okay, let's put it this way. There are no non-tabloids actually in the West anymore, but they provided us with an incredible insight because obviously Bild has a very serious, web of the spies and, signal intelligence, so they kind of got into the Vladimir Putin's negotiations with Mr. Rogozin and other people from Roscosmos, and they gave us this thing. If you look at this, it is just absolutely amazing. They talk about Moscow's plans to launch the Soyuz rocket, which usually takes the Progress and Soyuz capsules to the International Space Station, and they wanted to throw it in the basically air and then, report the catastrophe and then basically crash it into Kiev. So, I don't know. Well, we know that average German journal is a person who is completely imbecile and has no, basically, whatever degree of understanding between right and wrong, and they cannot even come up with a believable story. But for the country which produces thousands of the cruise missiles and hypersonic and supersonic missiles, basically crashing the rocket, which takes people to space, is definitely takes some really serious substances in terms of consumption. And you know what? This is pretty much the death of Germany, which we knew. And the more it will continue, the more the special military operation will continue, the more the situation will unfold in the Middle East, the more you will have those types of the reports. However, having said all that, and as I already stated, we can go and take a look at this. So it is a very funny, obviously, meme, but the point is, while certainly reflecting properly some thoughts for the Nazi regime in Kiev, it's not exactly correct, actually, because the people in Kiev shouldn't be worried about basically receiving the proper financing, granted, when it goes through the Congress, which holds the power of the purse. Mr. Biden can do some only short-term finances and his administration. So in the end, it's the Congress. But considering a number of the psychopaths and sociopaths and warmongers in U.S. Congress, don't worry, they will push through with this financing, because basically Uniparty is, including the so-called Reiners, this is majority of the Republicans, which is called the Republicans in name only, which are basically the horse of the military-industrial congressional complex. They will try to push it through. But here comes this issue, fundamental issue, that what's good your money are when you don't have what to buy it with. And the point is, of course, that Pentagon is on record now and speaking about it openly for months. There's nothing more to supply Ukraine with, because obviously even what little they can now supply it, including those poodles from European Union, it's going to be burned, it's going to be annihilated, and you can see the evidence of this basically revolving around, including videos all over internet. And it's not just YouTube, it's Rumble, all kinds of other platforms. People post how, and they show the basically appalling losses of the armed forces of Ukraine, or rather what's left of them, including obviously the hardware. Russians burned their armor, with great pleasure. And now we obviously have news from Kiev that they want to make sure that every single citizen of Ukraine, or whatever is left of this Ukraine, which is accidentally is called country 404 in Russia, they want even the amputees to be accepted now as have limited ability to be drafted to the military service. Next thing you know, I don't know, they will basically enroll their dead people, but that's the reality of it. And that brings us to the most important thing, which has been actually kinda let me put it this way, it was noticed but it never received proper elaboration and proper treatment from people who do political commentary. This, however, I think is even more important in the long run, strategically, so to speak, even considering the fact that we observe now a tragedy in Gaza and Israel committing the war crimes on a massive scale. But as I already stated, I'm not going to be sitting here constantly elaborating on what we already know and that we see what is happening, which is tragedy for Palestinians, but let others basically get involved into what I call atrocity porn. We know what is going on in terms of basically Israel, well, ethnically cleansing essentially Gaza Strip, and we know basically about plans. So let's kind of move away from this topic a little bit and we'll go to this. And this is extremely important because, as you can see yourself, Washington Post is known actually as a CIA outlet in Washington. There are no free media except for the alternative media in the United States. Every single major network or media or newspaper in the United States belongs to someone and pushes for the interest of a specific group, including, of course, what is called the Washington, D.C. Foreign Policy Consensus. So it's not a free press. They don't have people or professionals who are real journalists or rather reporters. They have only people who write what they are told. And here we have the Ukrainian spies with deep ties to CIA wage shadow war against Russia. This is written by the Washington Post yesterday, and as you can see yourself, the photo of the on the front page of Washington Post is about Daria Dugina, the daughter of, well, I won't call him philosopher Alexander Dugin, but I mean, he's kind of celebrity of sorts in the what is called philosophy in Russia. And basically what is told in this article in Washington Post is the fact that it was the Ukrainian special services which actually committed this murder, because she is a civilian, she is just political figure, so they did this. And now Washington Post goes on the basically extreme here, and so first they of course praise the CIA's capabilities. What they say is those operations have been cast as extreme measures Ukraine was forced to adopt in response to Russia's invasion last year. In reality, they represent capabilities that Ukrainian spy agencies have developed over nearly a decade since Russia first seized Ukrainian territory in 2014. A period during which the services also forged deep new bonds with the CIA. Okay, this is a very interesting phrasing because there are no really capabilities to kill somebody. You can always order even organized crime group, you can pay them, and there is no capability of killing in killing civilians. But if they think that this is capabilities, well, I will explain why this article. So now suddenly they say that, which of course we know, Mr. Nalivaychenko, former chief of the SBU, who is identified by Russian FSB and SVR as a direct asset of CIA. Here it is. The extent of CIA involvement with Ukraine security services has not previously been disclosed. No, it was in Russia, everybody knows. But of course, for brainwashed public in the United States who believe into the mainstream media garbage, it is of course first time which they understand this disclosure. U.S. intelligence officials stressed that the agency has had no involvement in targeting killing operations by Ukrainian agencies, and that its work has been focused on bolstering those services' abilities to gather intelligence on a dangerous adversary. This is when you have to start basically having the really, really loud laugh. No, CIA is directly involved in targeted killings of the Russian civilians, political leaders, and people like that. But, and here comes this issue which we will discuss once I will kind of finish with the going over the key statements of this article. Yeah, it's like you take the criminal, you take the murderer, and you train him in the methods of killing, and which CIA does. This is the only thing they do. Evidently, in terms of the signal and human intelligence gatherings, they are not that good to start with. And of course, CIA basically operatives are well presented on the ground in Ukraine and are directly involved in the what is called basically now desperate attempts to hold the line for the remnants of the armed forces of Ukraine, and they do consult it. And here comes this next thing about this basically statements, what they try to justify things. For example, as they, this is the funny phrase though in Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. This is for the CIA outlet. This is funny. And here we have other elaborations from obviously unknown officials. Others cited broader concerns about Ukraine's cutthroat tactics that may seem justified now, especially against a country accused of widespread war atrocities. Actually, there is no war atrocities by Russians, but of course this is the narrative and story which actually have been concocted in the deep recesses of the basically intelligence community in the United States, and this is projection. Actually, these are American intelligence services and American military, which is well known to commit atrocities and doing that actually as a part of their field manuals. And they say that, but could later prove difficult to rein in. No, you cannot rein in, guys, and that's what is this all about. I will explain. Let me finish basically commenting on this. And here they say things. We are seeing the birth of a set of intelligence services that are like Mossad in the 1970s, said a former senior CIA official, referring to the Israel spy service long accused of carrying out assassinations in other countries. Ukraine proficiency at such operations has risks for Russia, the official said, but it carries broader risks as well. I will explain again what those broader risks are. If Ukraine's intelligence operations become even bolder, targeting Russians in third countries, for example, you could imagine now how that might cause risks with partners and come into the serious tensions with Ukraine's broader strategic goals, the official said. Among those goals is membership in NATO and the European Union. Well, this official from CIA is moron if he says these things, and we have to begin to look at these people in the CIA who really have to be taken on their word, but well, there we go. So, and here they say the most important thing, as you can see yourself. Ukraine's affinity for lethal operations has complicated its collaboration with the CIA, raising concerns about agency complicity and creating unease among some officials in Kiev and Washington. This is what is this all about. This is the key phrase. But what I'm saying, this is too late, guys. As I already stated, the whole American intelligence community, forget about media. Media is just basically a joke and a bunch of clowns who either work for the intelligence community as assets and human intel gathering assets, or just plain simple stupid, have no morals, have no whatever defines people who are normal humans. And the question here is not the fact that CIA, intelligence agencies of Ukraine continue their basically assassinations and murdering people, many of them innocent people. No, the question is this. Russians already reacted yesterday with this, let's put it this way. The CIA decided to disavow future sabotage by the SBU, which is, of course, Secret Service of the Ukraine, which, by the way, has been essentially created and trained by CIA starting from 2014 and even earlier when Mr. Nalivaychenko was the chief of the SBU, which essentially also is complicit, CIA is complicit in training all those Nazi elements and, of course, in basically advising on how to torture, kill, and murder and things of this nature. So it's like, they say to disallow the future sabotage. This is one of the things. Well, possible. They want to disavow. They will continue to get involved because United States doesn't know when to stop, and that's what brings about the basically destruction of the once beautiful country. But here, let me put it this way: the timing of this article from Washington Post is rather unique, and here we have to. Keep in mind that basically it's all about not special trainings. Yeah, you get some kind of what is called the operative means of the, in Russia it's called the acute chekist actions. This is, for example, when you have to catch somebody or basically arrest somebody and things of this nature. And we have this, that, alleged Ukrainian plot to kill 77 Russian pilots with poison cake and whiskey foil. Well, this was about Armavir officer school, which graduated number of Russian combat pilots, and guess what? Somebody brought in the large cake and the whole case of whiskey, and those 77 graduates were about to eat it when some guy, obviously, well, I can tell you who this some guy could have been, counterintelligence guy who operates in any military academy in Russia, in the Soviet Union. Well, actually, they have whole departments who deal specifically with the issues like that, including the counter-espionage. And he just stated like, well, just a second, wait, guys. They cut the cake and send it to expertise. Obviously they have fast chemical reactions, and well, guess what? It was poisoned, including, of course, whiskey. So that tells you everything. And now CIA says that, oh, no, we are not involved in this. Yes, you are. And the point is, and here comes this thing which this video is all about. As you already remember, a few months ago I already stated, the Investigative Committee of Russia already started preparation for the war crimes and crimes against humanity on Ukraine. So I'm pretty sure they will be held in both Donetsk and in Moscow. And here comes this very important part. I wrote about it on a number of occasions, and you have to understand. Unlike, for example, special services in Iraq, for example, which CIA can play those games, Russian special services, especially the people from FSB, of SVR, let alone former GRU, now GU only, so they know who is behind. They know who those people are from CIA and other intel organizations in the United States. They know their names, they know their identities, they know where their families live, and things of this nature. So CIA now tries to say, oh, we have nothing to do with that. Actually, they do. They always did. So it's just, obviously, you can sell this BS to people who can continue to attend, schools of military advanced studies in the Hollywood. But other than that, it's not Iraq, guys. It's not even Iran. Russians have a damn good, not only human, but signal intelligence, which allows to know who those people are up to the political level. And that means when they say that, oh my gosh, they are very afraid that about Mossad kind of modus operandi on Russian side, if they, especially if SBU will try to actually basically kidnap people who even remotely support Russia in the West, which they are already doing. So no, it's CIA tactics, it's CIA methods, it's methods which have been developed throughout many decades, enough to take a look at things which have been done to Central and South America. And when you look at this, no, Russians will not go and kill somebody. They actually do not work like this. Unlike CIA, they work on a very, very different level, but they wouldn't know, especially the people from Bild or Washington Post, because they don't have a clue about anything around the world. They're just morons. I mean, this is what average American journal is. But the point is that when those proceedings will start in the war crimes tribunals, there will be names named which will not sound Slavic at all. They will sound very much Anglo-Saxon or what have you, very foreign names, and this will be people who will be charged with the crimes against humanity. And you can bet your butt on that, that the names of many so-called CIA operatives and people who have been involved in creating this basically murderous terrorist organization out of the SBU and GUR, which is the military. Really funny, I mean, the play of the letters. GUR, so of the Ukrainian military intelligence, which are complicit in the despicable crimes against humanity. So, and the modus operandi of the London and Washington, D.C. intelligence organizations, it just shines through. And that means those people will be charged with the crimes against humanity. And even if Russia will not be able to bring them to justice, their names will be publicized, they will be exposed for what they are, and then let that life take its kind of, you know, basically own toll, however it will happen. But obviously those people then better stay very well within the confines of the country, which is in the United States and basically Great Britain and some other lab dogs of the United States and Europe who committed these things, who aided, who basically abated and trained all those Ukrainian so-called special services in torturing civilian people, in committing mass murders, and basically trying to blow the civilian infrastructure, including attacks on the civilian objects in Moscow, for example, and other in other areas. So too late now. It is too late. And the fact that they begin to now just kind of to try to disavow itself, my gosh, they should go to the kindergarten and try to convince 6-year-old kids that they really mean it. The point is, as Mr. Narishkin, the chief of the SVR, stated recently, you can look it up, that they still have some communications between CIA and SVR. I think so. What we will observe now is the development of the same situation that was in the 70s when there was the red hot line established between Kremlin and Washington, D.C. and between CIA and KGB. And KGB told CIA that, yes, you may call, but only when it is something of the extreme nature in order to prevent war. Well, guess what? CIA did call only once, and KGB knew why they were calling. They were calling about some kind of the type of the spy exchange, and KGB never picked up the phone. That was the only time. Now, I think so, while there's some behind the scene negotiations and shuffling is happening, and you can bet your butt on the fact that obviously SVR was talking to CIA. I think so by this stage it's over, guys. It's over because actually the war is, in military sense, is over in Ukraine. And we have the issue that you know what is already stated by Bild, you know, Russians were so desperate, they wanted to basically send their, what's the name of it, Soyuz rocket and crash it into Kiev. This is, again, you have to smoke some really serious stuff. But then, of course, we have Mr. Zelensky, who, yeah, this is the new way of conducting operations. I'm pretty sure this is modus operandi, obviously, by Pentagon. People who planned it for Ukraine say Zelensky orders Ukrainian army to advance 500 meters a day. The president demanded daily progress in Kiev, lagging counter-offensive. Again, I don't know what counteroffensive on Ukraine part is. It's difficult to explain it to these imbeciles who report on that there was no ever counteroffensive from Ukraine. Counteroffensive basically involves the counteroffensive. You meet head to, you know, and you attack your attacking enemy. Roughly speaking, this is what it is. But of course, what Ukraine was conducting was offensive to primarily initiate the greater support in the United States primarily and in European Union for Ukraine. And it was planned not by Ukrainian general staff, it was planned in Pentagon, it was planned in London, and considering the professional level of people who planned that, as a result, this offensive, I mean, it doesn't exist anymore. There's some sporadic attacks along all kinds of different operational and even the tactical axis. And you can see yourself, as I already stated, go back to the YouTube and other platforms. It is a catastrophe. Their losses on Ukrainian side absolutely appalling, and they effectively basically ran out of the mobilization potential. So the only money which they will get from the United States will primarily be for the maintaining of the Ukraine as some kind of state, because basically it's throwing off the good money after bad for Washington. But when you look at people who are like Mr. Jake Sullivan, Mr. Blinken, Mr. whoever they are, most of them are neocons, they're fanatics, and their hatred of Russians is through the roof. So basically for them it's just the quest of to kill as many Russians as possible before obviously the United States itself implodes, which is happening as we speak, as the basically major or self-proclaimed hegemon, which it is not anymore. It's primarily militarily impotent in the real war. But of course the war which is being conducted by Israel, which is not really the war, we have this situation that actually where IDF announced that we have IDF spokesman Jonathan Konirikus said there would be no ground operation if Hamas surrenders and releases all hostages, which is of course, well, pretty much stupid between me and you guys. So, and yeah, we have their spokesperson in the looming offensive goes ahead. However, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant estimates that it could take up to 3 months. Could it go there? Yes. What it will create in terms of reaction of the international community, I don't know. I know it will be very sharp. And but hey, what do I know? I'm not in the general staff of Israeli Defense Force, so they know what they do, and I hope so, at least. So, because in the end, they, of course, can crush Hamas, but at what price, at what cost? And now we have the other interesting news before I forget, and this is very crucial. This is immensely important. Mr. Li Shangfu, Chinese defense minister, have been sacked yesterday, and he has been on this post for in less than for a year. What are the reasons? I don't know. There are certainly some clans fighting and choosing their way of controlling China around Mr. Xi. But that's the news. These are very important because Li Shangfu is the guy who was a very serious guy in terms of the technological advancement for Chinese armed forces and communications and cooperations with Russia. I don't think so in any way reflects on Russian-Chinese relations, but it just shows the complexity of the way Chinese perceive the geopolitical situation around themselves and Taiwan. So, and the fact that they sent 6 ships to Middle East, it's primarily in the demonstration of flag and obviously collecting some kind of the intel on the US Navy ships which are being deployed, carrier battle groups in the Eastern Mediterranean and somewhere there in the Red Sea. So we'll see what is this about. But that's what I wanted to tell you today, guys. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel and support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee or 2. And this is it for today, guys, and have a nice rest of the week, and I'll be talking to you later. Looks like I will try to do the first ever interview, me interviewing a wonderful writer, doctor of economic sciences, the incredible economist, Mr. Fadi Lama, so on Thursday. So I will record the video, I'll try to record and edit it, and then I will basically upload it to YouTube, and you will see it in my blog. So, okay guys, that's it for today. Have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.